What's up, Dragon Brood? Today we have kind of an easy one, and it's Mono Green Snow. I think so far everybody who does content or a bunch of decks has some version of this, but it's actually surprisingly solid and consistent, and probably not too hard to build if you already have the parts for previous versions of Mono Green Aggro, so that's kind of neat. But before we get in and look into it and talk about the specifics, I don't know what's going on there with this tongue, but like, be sure to like this video, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and that'll make sure you get notified whenever we have videos up. Because now that we're getting to the end of putting up all the decks, I'm going to start doing daily gameplay videos so you can see all these decks in action. So hopefully if you have a favorite, you'll see it over the next first couple of weeks of the new standard, I guess. We put out a lot of decks. It's going to take some time to cover them all. But anyway, let's go take a look at this. Okay, so starting at the top, we're playing 3 Stonecoil Serpents. I feel like we could probably play 4 in this list, but I wanted to experiment with a couple of different new cards. And there's a lot of times, too, that, it just dies, like Blood Chief's Thirst or whatever. And I don't know how many multicolor things people are going to be playing with. There was a point, even recently, where stuff like Rogues was really popular, and it was kind of nice to be able to have something that couldn't be killed with Drown in the Lock, but also could block the Soaring Thought Thief, and that was cool. But I don't know how much that's going to be a thing anymore. So just playing 3 is fine for now, but don't be surprised if you want to move up to playing 4 of them. We're playing 3 Blizzard Brawl. And what Blizzard Brawl does, for 1 mana, which is actually really good, though it is a sorcery, you choose target creature you control and target creature you don't control. If you control 3 or more snow permanents, the creature you control gets +1 and gains indestructible until end of turn. Then those creatures fight, obviously, which is why you choose the other creature. This card is super strong, and I think it's one of those cards that when preview season was going around and they were putting the cards out, it didn't get a lot of discussion. But the fact that if you even have just 3 snow lands, you go ahead and play the Blizzard. I choose your creature. Let's say, I don't know, I'm just gonna say I have a 4/4 out, right? And you've got whatever, maybe even a 5/5. I choose your creature, I choose my creature. They get to fight. I kill your biggest creature now, and I still get to attack with this other thing that has indestructible. So you're almost going to get a guaranteed bit of damage through because your opponent's not going to want to chump block it, in any way, shape, or form. And they're just going to take 5 to the face. That's actually really good for 1 mana. So definitely don't overlook that card. It is super good. Playing 4 Swarm Shambler. Just as a way to have a good early drop, we have several things that are going to be able to get counters. So when you have something else gets targeted that has counters on it, you get a 1/1, so you can build up your board. This is a card that kind of gets underlooked a lot, except for specifically in things that want +1/+1 counters, but it actually has some uses outside of that. Speaking of which, we have a couple of Scavenging Oozes that can also get counters. Then we're playing 4 Nessian Horn Beetles, and I'm kind of 50-50 on how good this card is in this list, but we are playing enough things that are 4 power. We're playing things that can also pump creatures. So even if it doesn't necessarily get the counter on turn 3, we could be building up to starting on turn 4 plus, just adding a counter to your Horn Beetles every turn, which is totally reasonable. Then we're playing Lovestruck Beast, playing a full set of 4 because 1, you can play the first side on turn 1, and then you just have a big body after that. You also have some other 1 mana creatures in here, or one power, 1 toughness creatures in here when you're talking about Swarm Shambler. So that's another reason to play it, because it gives you a little bit of extra reach. Reach being, longevity, to be able to get in there with those Lovestruck Beasts. So I definitely want to play a full set of those. And then Old Growth Troll. This is one of the main reasons to just be playing mono green if you're going to play it. This card is fantastic. It's a 4/4, it tramples. It comes back and lets your lands produce more mana, and then lets you sacrifice to get a 4/4. That you can sacrifice at instant speed, mind you. So if your opponent taps out to sweep the board or something, you're like, great. During your end step, I'm just going to make a 4/4, start attacking again. Really, really cool stuff there. Gym Razor, we're playing a full set, and partly because we have a lot of things that can get counters, can get bigger. We're going to be able to give them trample. This is one of the few things we're playing that doesn't just kill a creature, lets us actually kill artifacts and enchantments. It can grow some of your smaller creatures. There's lots of cool things this card does in this list, so definitely going in with a full set of 4. And don't forget, because a lot of people do, this card also has reach. So if for some reason that rogues is still a thing, we have several things that have reach and can block them. So not bad. Playing 1 Battle Mammoth. And this is mostly because I just want to test it out. I want to see, does it make sense to use this with Foretell or not? Is there a turn where we do want to Foretell and like play Blizzard Brawl on something and then like the next turn cast Battle Mammoth? I don't really know, but I want to be able to find out. And the other side is like when your opponent targets your stuff, you get to draw a card. So that's not the worst thing. I do also like that it says the target of a spell or ability. So even if they decide to play something like Banishing Light, they would be able to remove the thing, but you would still get a card for it. So I really, because a lot of times those things say like target of a spell, and I appreciate that it's target spell or ability, and it is a 6/5 trampler, so it's nothing to turn your nose up at. And then we're playing 2 Vorinclex. I know everybody's been saying every time they see a green list, they're like, "Oh, we should be playing Vorinclex." You know, when they see the Death Touch list, you should be playing Vorinclex. It's like, no, but this one, yes, we should be playing Vorinclex, right? Because here we do have a lot of things that come into play with counters or get counters. You know, you're talking about Stonecoil Serpents, Swarm Shambler, I mean, just Scavenging Ooze, Nessian Horn Beetle, you know, like all of those are getting counters. So, like, we do have opportunity to use Vorinclex. The other thing, and the reason I skipped over it to talk about it now, is Blessing of Frost. This is one of the other cards that we're playing that care about snow. And for 4 mana, and again, this is a sorcery, but it's a snow sorcery, distribute X +1/+1 counters on any number of creatures you control, where X is the number amount of snow mana you spend on the spell. So up to 4, effectively, if you spend 4 snow mana. And then you draw a card for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. So it's very possible you take your 2 counters or 4 counters, whatever it is, and you put it on a couple of different creatures, and maybe you're drawing 3 cards or 4 cards or whatever. That's really good. And again, with Vorinclex, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to get to put extra counters, so why don't I spread them all out, double up my counters, and now I have a bunch of even bigger creatures, and I'm pretty much guaranteed I drew 4 cards off of that at a minimum. More than that if you have a Vorinclex out. And that's probably going to put you pretty close to ending the game at that stage. So we're going to see how good Blessing of Frost is, because I'm really big on that. And then we have a couple of the Great Hinge, just because, again, it works with Vorinclex. You're getting counters. It's going to give you extra counters. You get to draw cards. Like, super just all-around good card, and it even shows off a little bit more in this build. Lands, look at that. This is probably one of the simpler land bases we've had. We have 3 Faceless Havens. We have 20 snow-covered forests. That's it. We need to make sure we have snow permanents, and the best way to do that is having every land be a snow thing, so that gives us all the bonus that we need. And then we can still turn these Faceless Havens easily into attackers. So we don't disrupt our spells too much. The only downside is the Faceless Havens are colorless, so occasionally you're not going to be able to cast something like your Old Growth Troll on time. But that's like the only downside we have. With 20 forests, I think we're going to be okay. Yeah, not really much to complain about otherwise in this deck construction. Now again, when we're looking at this list, you know, it's mostly an upgrade, because we're only playing, I think, like the 2 Vorinclex, the Old Growth Trolls, and the 1 Battle Mammoth. The other cards are just uncommons. So this is another one that's pretty easy to build if you really want to, if you have any of the bases from previous Mono Green Aggro decks, which is really nice. And you don't have a crazy mana base you have to build, and a lot of the cards you're building in this list, you're probably going to play in some other decks down the road as well. So that's also very nice. So big fan of this one if you're looking for a good starting point, if you like green decks. It also plays a little bit differently than some of the other decks that we've had, which I like, and you get to use some different and interesting cards. So nothing wrong with that. As always, remember, if you want this video to be down below in the description, as well as the other 20+ decks we put up for Kaldheim. Check them out. If you're looking for something different, do a quick search, check out the channel. We have a playlist just for MTG Kaldheim Standard. You can see all the stuff we put up and maybe find something that fits you. If you haven't, please remember to like this video, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, because it helps me out and helps you out. But that's all I have for you for now. We'll see you next time.